Preparing to deliver another message at this community center. A short, brief one to a general audience, assuming the students, adults alike. And so we're going to go in and do what we do best, delivering a sword, though it may be a somber sword, a sword nonetheless. Hopefully for listening ears and an audience willing to hear what message I am led to deliver, led to give. That hopefully will come from the Spirit and come from a place where it cannot be ignored. All right, for Wandering Kings, let's go.
Hello, it's good to be here. It's good to see young faces, mature faces, seasoned faces. It's good to see athletes. It's good to see students. It's good to see adults present. It's good to see that we all are here for a particular reason here at this center. And the reason that we all are here is both to give and to receive. So I'm not going to take long with my intro. I tend to go pretty long on my introductions as to who I am, what the message will be, and just overall what I may be dealing with at the moment, or why I may be here. So I'm not going to spend a lengthy period of time diving into all of that for a number of reasons. For one, because of time restrictions, which I'm very respectful of. But for two, this is not really a scripted message or a speech, if you want to call it that. I want to share with you all that whenever I am blessed and fortunate to speak on any platform or stage, a lot of the times it may be because I have contacted that organization to see if there are any upcoming events as to which I can be a part of, or if an event can be created for me to come and present a message, and then there are times where, okay, yes, I may get an inquiry about my services as far as my speaking prowess and engagement. I do not make money doing this, and the reason I say that is not to throw it in anyone's faces, even those who would allow me to be here on their property to deliver this message. I am so appreciative. I am, but I say this because the good book says you received without paying, therefore give without pay. And I try to stand true to that, but I also go the route of just giving whatever gifts and talents I have for free away, is because it's easier to be able to enter into certain forums, when people don't talk about paying, and talk about providing a free service, more doors tend to open. I think we all know that. And again, this is not a knock to this center. It is not a knock to the leaders of this center or this organization. It is, again, to say I do this because I want to make it as accessible as possible for me to enter various platforms, to walk on various stages to be able to present. Now, will it always be this way? I do not know. It may not be. It may be. I'm not sure, but I'm just doing what I'm really just spiritually led to do, but also opportunistically led to do. Not sure if that's a word, but it's a word for me right now, and for you two here. So and if I could just go a little deeper, there are people that don't even know what I'm doing. When I say there are people that do not know what I'm doing, I'm talking about people that I'm in relationship with, people that I may be friends with, family members, so forth and so on, that do not know about my wanderings to various places, to various organizations, to various events, to give these deliveries. I say that because there is a such thing as a double agent. I may be considered, Clark Kent on average, but outside the norm or outside the average, I become Superman. And I say that not to say that I am Superman, but I say that because I'm living two separate lives. I'm pursuing two separate goals. You know, I'm living in two separate spaces. Some spaces I'm living in a split term. One space I'm over here, and then another space I'm over there. But nonetheless, I'm in two spaces. One person, two spaces. I put on my hat when it's time for this type of space. I put on my hat when it's time for my regular personal space. And I don't know how some of my family members would respond, or even those I'm in relationship with would respond, friends would respond, if they found that all of a sudden, by the grace of God, my platform has enlarged, and now I don't know, maybe I'm on larger stages. Maybe I've been exposed now, where the media has now gotten wind of what I've been doing. And I know this is all using your imagination, but that's the beauty of imagination. You can go as far as you need to go with your own imaginings, with your own pursuits, with your own beliefs. And so that's what I am believing. But I do not know how family members, friends, loved ones would respond if they found that I've been in these trenches for quite a long time, in various locations, various states, cities. Some may feel betrayed. How could you not have told me? Some may feel a sense of distrust. Some may even feel like they don't know me because you operated in a kind of undercover mode without my knowing. Some may feel offended because maybe they feel like they could have helped. Maybe they could have given influence, or maybe they could have opened and helped to open more doors. And maybe all these things are true, but what I'm saying is, I operate in this manner for various reasons. I'm not saying those reasons are right or wrong, but it's what I'm led and how I'm led to operate. Sometimes you share your dreams, your passions, you share the things that you're doing with people. Like I say, again, whether friends, family, loved ones, and sometimes those very ones, use what you've shared with them because you are in pursuit of it. They use it against you. Sometimes it's in the form of an argument. Sometimes it's in the form of a disagreement. Sometimes it's in the form of jealousy. Sometimes it's in the form of, you're not bringing any income, to the home front. You're not making any money. So what are you doing all of these things that are meaningless? And those words can sting. They can stab. They can maim. If you allow them to. Words can still hurt, but you can still have a purpose in mind. You can still be mission-minded, not emotionally minded. There's a difference between the two. So there are reasons why I don't share with those that are closest to me the things that I am doing, because then I don't know how they would take it. If they'll see, maybe they'll have little slick comments that, okay, yeah, that was okay, it wasn't all of that, but it was okay. And so you just want to try to keep the confidence that you already have. And I do believe that's why many of us are here. Many of us are here to keep what we do have. If it's confidence, we want to keep that confidence. Some of y'all are athletes. It's nothing like confidence. One thing I've learned over the years and still learning is momentum, brings about confidence. Momentum in anything, not just as an athlete. Momentum means you have a force now behind you that is not only pushing you, but you're gaining speed. You're becoming stronger. You have more to fight with. Momentum. So in this small forum that we all are in, I just want to deliver a few things unto your ears. What you do with them is totally up to you. But I had a moment this past weekend, and the moment that I had was self-reflecting. The moment that I had was eye-opening. The moment that I had was what I was feeling and what I've been feeling for a long time. So much so that I had to verbally express it to myself, and when I shared it with myself, to myself, and to my source, it was a release. It definitely was a release, but it appeared that there was no return. There's a giving sometimes in which we do not necessarily see a return, at least right away. And so, we sometimes put things out in the air. If you're individuals who seek a higher power, some put it in prayer. Some, release on social media. Some write in their journal. Some release it, to friends. And sometimes when you do these things, it appears there's no return. And sometimes there is no return. No return. Answer, no return comfort, no return, and so I found myself in that state this past weekend, and of course I shared it with myself, as well as in my journal, as I've kept journals for years now, and so I just want to read to you all what I wrote in lieu of my despair, my frustrations, my anguish, and this is not a dark cloud, so I don't want to depress anyone. There's always a follow-up. There will be a return in lieu of this short message, an opportunity I have to speak to you all. But again, this is what I wrote. When a dream becomes a reality, in spite of the fogs of despair, doubts, loss, failings, frustrations, choices, uncertainties, because you already saw it as a reality before anyone else did, before anyone else saw, before anyone else believed or imagined. That once previewed, now viewed dream will and can push all. Will and can push all of you that went into and against that dream that has now manifested with a cacophony of emotions, not only felt as it did then, but felt as it does now. I hope it didn't throw you all for a loop too much. Again, this is from my own excerpt written in my journal. As I thought it, I wrote it. And I'll just briefly go through that quickly this time again. When a dream becomes a reality in spite of the fogs of despair, doubts, loss, failings, frustrations, choices, uncertainties, because you already saw it as a reality before anyone else did, anyone else saw, anyone else believed or imagined, that once previewed, now viewed dream will and can push all of you that went into and against that dream that has now manifested with a cacophony of emotions, not only felt as it did then, but felt as it does now. That's what I wrote. That's what I believed. And that's what I will one day say on a large platform, a large stage, a large soapbox, and I'm not talking about sheer numbers. I'm just talking about the presence of a stage that I do believe one day I will grace in such a way that I will be overcome with a cacophony of emotions, not emotions only from the past, but even those emotions from the present. Not only the emotions from when I was losing and being in defeat, but even when I'm now winning and being prosperous, and so when that dream, which is was once a preview, now actually viewed, comes to fruition, I think there's a mindset that goes with that. I think there's a joy that comes with that, and I think a lot of people who are sitting here or listening in this audience right now can relate to a lot of those things that I've already mentioned, and even things I've not mentioned. And please don't think that I'm saying that I want to be famous. That's not what I'm implying. As a matter of fact, to go to show, that's not what I'm implying. One of my prayers have always been to be influential, impactful. There's a difference in being influential impactful and just being famous. I think when you are influential, you tend to influence others for the greater good. At least in the manner of which I speak of. When you're impactful, you tend to impart unto people that which they may not have had imparted to them in a long time, or maybe even ever before. So those are the two things that are my focal points, not fame. No. When I talk about the stage that one day I believe I will make that speech on, when I talked about when a dream becomes a reality, it is not to be famous. It is not for the fortune. It's for the impact. It's for the influence. It's for the importance to which I will be most overjoyed about. And don't get me wrong, when we make an impact, yes, that opens doors. Yes, that puts us on stages, and it puts us on various platforms to deliver that which we want to impact others and influence others in. And I hope that's what's taking place even now. I know we're just kind of like talking. At least I know that's what it feels like. But I want the focal point. I want the focal point to be at this moment. You. Yeah. I want the focal point to be at this moment. You. When I say you, that's exactly what I mean. You. No one else right now. Some of you all are so giving. Some of you all will put others ahead of yourselves, and some of you all will put others' feelings ahead of yours. Some of you all will even sit in the back seat so others can sit in the front, and those things are great. Please know, oh my goodness, blessings are bestowed in ways that we do not even see because of the heart that many of us have in those areas I just mentioned. But I want you to focus on you. You. What is your ambition? What is your dream? What is your level of influence? What is your level of impact? I'm not trying to knock anyone who wants to be famous and wants the fortune thereof. I'm not knocking that. If that's your dream, then okay. I'm just talking about for me. I don't want fortune or fame. I want influence, impact, and importance. That's my desire. Don't let my desire be your desire if it's not your desire. It's okay if we hear someone's desire and we decide, you know what, I've been desiring the wrong things. Maybe I need to desire some other things outside of the sphere of influence I once desired in. So if that's what it is, then that's what it is. But I don't want to try to push my desires on someone when you have your own desires. These are my desires. When I speak of the lack of fame or fortune that I am not seeking. I'm not looking for that, but instead influence again, impact and importance. Because one thing I've learned, and I've seen many of people, I've been impacted by many of people over the years. I've been influenced by many of people over the years. Is when you are those things, when you are influential, when you are impactful, when you are important, you are given attention. You're paid attention to. That's simply fact. Now, some people would say, well, if you're influential, if you are important, if you're impactful, that means that you're rich. Not necessarily. You can be rich in other ways and with other things other than just money. Don't get me wrong. I would not deny the fact of being wealthy, rich even monetarily, so to be able to allow my cup to overflow. Seriously, not just to hoard for myself. At least I hope I wouldn't be that type of person, but I'm talking about riches untold. I have this also written when I'm in my wellness mode that, wealth is our original health. Health is our original wealth. I'll say that again, for once has it been spoken, twice told, that it may be heard. Health is our original wealth. Your health, my health, health of mind, health of lifestyle, healthy lifestyles. Your health is the original or the true wealth. So again, influencing is just as important, as empowering. When you can empower someone, you've influenced someone, to be empowered. And I hope you all understand when I say when you empower someone, you know what you're doing, which can still fall under the umbrella of influencing, impacting, importance, When you empower someone, what you're simply doing through those channels I just mentioned, showing that they are important, they are relevant. You're giving them the authority or the power to do that which they may not have thought they could do, or to do that which they at one time or another felt they can do, but through, of course, life's uppercuts, blows, jabs, they lost faith in that. So now here you come and you now empower them, giving them a hope and giving them the authority, reminding them they have the authority and the power to do something, to do that very thing that they may not have thought they could ever do, or to do that very thing that they've lost sight of doing. That's when you empower. So for me, again, wealth, fortune, fame, that's not what I'm seeking. That's not what I'm seeking. Because I know the power that lies not only behind those other attributes that I've mentioned, but I know the power that goes ahead of those attributes that I've mentioned. When you're walking with an empowering sense, or when you're walking with an influential spirit, looking to influence others, these are the things that I seek. These are the things that I long for, that I strive for, And so again, in this audience, we're here, briefly, just for a moment to hopefully leave with something we did not come with. And if we came with it, hopefully to leave with that something larger than we came with that something. If we had a little bit of confidence, hopefully we'll leave with more confidence. If we had a little bit of hope, hopefully we'll leave with a lot more of that hope. That's the purpose of empowering. That's the purpose of impacting. That's the purpose of influencing. And that's my purpose of being here at this moment and at this time. I also had another moment where I wrote in my journal after expressing verbally to myself just the struggles, the struggles not only to dream, but the struggles to see those dreams manifested. And I wrote this because it's what I was feeling, and make no mistake, I still feel it. I still feel it. I feel it so much that I can not only talk about it, but I can feel a sense of overcoming it. All at the same time. All at the same time. And this is what I wrote. I said, I'm fighting against, with, fighting. I'll say that again. I'm fighting against and with fighting. Why are you fighting against and with fighting? You sometimes fight to keep fighting. So not to throw in the towel. You sometimes fight against fighting because the fight that you should be fighting is trying to overwhelm you to not fight. Or the fight that you should not be fighting is trying to overwhelm you to fight. I'm fighting against fighting. I'm fighting with fighting. I'm fighting against and with feeling. I'm fighting against and with flesh. I'm fighting against and with finding. When I say I'm fighting against and with finding, finding what my true purpose is, finding what my true calling is, what my true assignment is, finding what is true friendship, finding a true friend, and I'm not trying to sound like some lost dog. I mean, I'm a grown adult. I've lived for a very long time. I pray that I'll live even the more longer hereafter. But these are things that it just amazes me, certain phases of life that we go through, that the things we once had, we are now seeking now because certain circles have changed, not that we are better than any of those friends and family members and pursuits we once had. That I'm not saying that, but your mindset starts to shift, your life starts to shift. Some of you all, may have gotten married and you were single for years, and even in being married, I'm sorry, you can't do the very same things you were doing when you were single with your friends or with loved ones or with associates, co-workers. You just can't. Now people will say you can. I beg to differ. There should be a shifting. So, again, when these circles that we once had, start to diminish, sometimes it's a reason for that. If not all the time, it's a reason for that. So, again, I said I'm fighting against and with finding. You can fill in the blanks, finding whatever it is that you are looking to find. I just said already, sometimes finding purpose, meaning. I know what my purpose is, but sometimes that purpose can be very foggy when it doesn't appear to be making an impact. See, I'm going back to my words again. It doesn't appear to be empowering. It doesn't appear to be influencing. doesn't appear to be of importance. So you're trying to find, the very things that appear to be lost. So you're fighting against it, and you're fighting with it. Because sometimes the wrong findings can come to your doorstep. Sometimes the wrong things that you saw yourself searching for were not the right things you needed to search for. So I'm fighting against and with finding against it, and I'm also fighting with it. Fighting against and with fear. Fighting against and with failing. Fighting against and with forgetting. Fighting against and with fixing. Fighting against and with following. Fighting against and with focusing. Fighting against and with frustration. Fighting against and with foolishness. Fighting against and with fulfilling or fulfillment. Fighting against and with finishing. Fighting against and with freeing. Fighting against and with falling. Fighting against and with fleeing. And lastly, fighting against and with faith. Yes, I said faith. Fighting against and with faith. And as I say this last part of what I'm fighting against and with, I of course saved the best for last. Faith. Because I'm reminded of what I once heard a wise man say, and he said it with such vigor, with such power, with such meaning. You could tell he had walked that course before, walked it enough where he can share it in the manner that he shared it with, and it has stuck with me all this time, even in some of my darkest, moments. And this is what this wise soul said. He said, "Never allow the past sense of failure to destroy a new action of faith." Let me say that again. For once has it been spoken, twice told, that it may be heard. He said, never allow the past sense of failure to destroy a new action of faith. Wow. Fighting against and fighting with faith. Fighting against faith when it appears your faith has failed you. Because you had expectations in that faith that have not come to fruition, that have not manifested. So you feel like your faith has failed you. But there's always a source. You heard me speak on the source earlier at the beginning of this message. There's always the source. The source does not fail. It may be my faith that has failed me because of what I anticipated, what I believed that did not come to pass or did not come into life. That did not come true. But it is never the source of that faith, of my faith, that has failed me. So these are things that I'm fighting against and fighting with. And many of you may be fighting against and fighting with the very same. That's the reason I am here. That's the reason we are here. That's the reason I do believe that this is a message that I think most of us, hopefully all of us, if not just a few of us or some of us, will not only take to heart, but will leave with more than what we came with, So in this fighting against and with, the fighting, fighting against and with feeling, flesh, finding, fear, failing, forgetting, fixing, following, focusing, frustrations, foolishness, fulfilling or fulfillment, fighting against and with finishing. Many of us, we do so well with starting. I don't care what it is, and that's always power, and it's always to be applauded when we start anything. When you start anything, oh my goodness, there's power in that. But it's something about when we don't continue to the finish in that. That's why I wrote for myself the things that I'm fighting against, finishing what I start. But I'm also fighting with, so to finish the things that I start. I'm fighting against and with freeing. When I say fighting against and with freeing those oppressive thoughts from my caged mind. We have a mind, and that mind is symbolic of a cage. We can lock into the mind whatever we choose to lock into, whatever thoughts we choose to lock into that caged mind. That boxed mind. So freeing, I'm fighting against and fighting with freeing the things that need to be freed from those incarcerations of my mind. I have the power to do so. I have the key to unlock and to free those things that are doing me no good, that are oppressive, that are dark, that are not that are negative, that are not what needs to be incarcerated in my mind. If the things that I've already said I'm looking to pursue, I need to pursue. If I'm looking to pursue and to be impactful, if I'm looking to pursue and to be influential, if I'm looking to pursue and empower, I can't have some of these dark, limiting thoughts and things in my mind, in my mind's cage, And so before I leave, I'm sorry, I just want to leave you all with those things. Whether you are an athlete, whether you are a mother or father, whether you are a student, whether you are a woman, a man, a girl, a boy of faith, all these things are applicable. I'm sorry this wasn't the most smooth delivery, because again, this was not necessarily scripted. This was coming from a place of not only torment, but a place of victory, a place of believing, a place of knowing, a place of struggling. All those things. But yet there's another side of those things, and we choose if we are going to traverse to those, if we're going to traverse to the other side of those things. We have the power to do so. And I think once we know we have the power to do those things, to eliminate those things, to fight against those things, and in some cases to fight with those things, I think we'll find ourselves in a better place. Maybe not tangibly, it may just be spiritually, it may be emotionally, it may not change the environment, but it will change us while we're within the environment. So I just want to thank you all again for just allowing me to come and to deliver this quick, concise message. And in parting, I do want to leave you all with this, as I have said to myself and even written to myself. Please know this, there is a before version of you and there's an after version of you, but you won't know the after version if you are content with the before version, or if you aren't willing to push, press, persist to a better after version of you, to a better after version of yourself. Thank you all again for just allowing me to come and to invade your space, but to come and really just use this platform as a venting platform, but also as a building, lifting platform. I hope that to see you all again in other events I may be invited to, or other events I may ask if I could just deliver a message to. And if we cross paths again, please just say a little something to me, okay? Whether it's a hello, or you attended, or whether you heard one of the messages, or whether you just were inspired, or you want to inspire me. Please, by all means, I'm available. Thank you all again, and thank you just for your allowance of me. Thank you.
Not all who wander are lost.